Chapter 51. Stay safe and don't waste time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mu Ningxue carefully observed the crystal core between her fingers, and then looked at Wang Mingyang's handsome face. She repeated this several times until Wang Mingyang became impatient and said, "You have the ability to control metal, right? This is the gold system, right? Otherwise, try to see if you can absorb it." "How? Eat it?" Wang Mingyang was stunned, his expression was very appropriate. "Ugh. No, this thing is dug out from the brain, can you eat it casually?" Mu Ningxue retched. Even if Wang Mingyang ate it, she was full of rejection. Thinking of that scene, she felt bad. "Okay, I won't eat it. I'll try other ways." Wang Mingyang reached out and grabbed the crystal core from Mu Ningxue's hand. Concentrating his mind and holding the crystal core in his palm, Wang Mingyang mobilized the energy in his body, just like exerting the ability to control metal, and slowly extended his mental power into the crystal core. In the induction of mental power, a light golden energy slowly flowed through the palm of his hand into his body, and the energy flow in his body merged into the energy in the crystal core and grew. Rapidly, after more than 10 minutes, Wang Mingyang finally absorbed the crystal core, and the energy in his body increased by a full circle. Under his perception, whether it is physical fitness, mental strength, or internal energy, he has indeed stepped into the first level. Spreading out his palm, the crystal core has turned into powder. As Wang Mingyang's palm tilted, the crystal core powder fell into the trash can. "Is it over?" Siyu looked at Wang Mingyang, a little surprised. "It should be. When I sensed that the energy of the crystal core was exhausted, it became like this." Wang Mingyang nodded. "Are there any changes? Has your strength increased?" Mu Ningxue was more concerned about the improvement of strength and asked impatiently. "I feel a lot stronger. The overall strength has leaped a step. It should be the level of a first-level superpower." Wang Mingyang clenched his fist and punched the air with a muffled sound. "Yeah. Then can we specifically look for this kind of crystal core to improve our strength?" Siyu clapped his hands and laughed. "It's not that easy. The explosion rate of this crystal core is not high. Moreover, there are not many first-order mutant creatures now. The situation tonight is rare." Wang Mingyang shook his head. "It is indeed not easy at present, but it will be different in a few days." "I don't think so. Since the second-order mutant Rat King has appeared, there must be many first-order mutant creatures. It's just that we haven't encountered them yet." Mu Ningxue pondered for a while and said calmly. "Indeed, the mutant Rat King has a strong sense of oppression." Siyu nodded and agreed. "When did you see it?" Wang Mingyang was surprised. "Didn't these two girls go down the rooftop before? What's the matter? Did they sense it through the floor? We are worried about you, so we secretly watched you at the stairs for a while." Siyu smiled embarrassedly. "We are afraid that you will die, so we will see if we can save you." Mu Ningxue said with a cold face and a look of disdain, without any awareness of having sold herself into slavery. Wang Mingyang felt warm in his heart when he heard this. In his past and present lives, he rarely felt the care of others. In the 5 years of the last days, there were more intrigues and interests. Even the former goddess Wang Ruoqing approached him imperceptibly in order to obtain the secret of being able to possess 5 superpowers at the same time. "I really have to thank you for this, but unfortunately I have always been a coward and don't die easily." Wang Mingyang laughed and didn't think there was anything wrong with Mu Ningxue's words. He wouldn't really treat Mu Ningxue as a slave. This woman couldn't be easily convinced. If he really treated her as a slave, he might be killed by her one day. It's not easy to find a first-level creature, and our strength is not enough. If we are surrounded by a group of corpses again, luck may not be on our side. So, I think in the next period of time, we should focus on training our abilities and wait and see." Wang Mingyang thought about it and felt that it would be better to be safe. Siyu and Mu Ningxue also nodded in agreement. Everything they saw tonight had broadened their horizons. the self-confidence that had expanded due to the awakening of high-level superpowers quickly cooled down. In the end times, there are many people with extraordinary talents, but only a dozen of them can stand at the top in the end. It's not because they have the best talents. On the contrary, among the 5 emperors and 9 heavenly kings, there are only 1 or 2 people with S-level talents. The Chinese Sword Emperor legend only has B-level superpower talents, and relies more on his own powerful swordsmanship, using superpowers as an aid to stand at the top. Among the remaining few people, there are many who have reached the top with B-level or A-level superpower talents. The reason for this situation is, more importantly, these people are cautious enough, no matter how good the talent is. It is only potential after all. In the early stage, the difference between the talent of supernatural power is 1 or 2 levels, and the difference is not too big. If you are not cautious enough and think that you have strong talent and keep going wild, you will basically be beaten to death on the beach. Potential will really become eternal potential. Now the talents of Wang Mingyang and the other 2 are already luxurious enough. The most correct way is undoubtedly to stay down and develop your own strength quietly until you surprise everyone. If everyone is like Zhenghong, a B-level talent dares to confront the second-level mutant rat king head-on. If this kid is not lucky, he would have died long ago. At this time, Zhenghong and Chao Jing were like frightened birds, dragging their wounds back to the house. As soon as he sat down, Zhenghong couldn't help but groan. Several steel hairs of the second-level mutant rat king pierced his body. Although they had been pulled out by Chao Jing, the blood holes were still shocking. "Brother Hong, what happened to you?" Gu Siyu quickly stepped forward and asked anxiously when she saw Zhenghong was injured. "I encountered a rat as big as a wild boar. It was probably the leader of the rat tide and was injured by it," Chao Jing said without looking back while searching for the first aid kit in the house. Yu Yani, who was wearing a short-haired belly-exposing outfit, curled her lips unconsciously when she heard the words. She originally thought that Zhenghong was very powerful. He had killed ordinary zombies so cleanly before. Unexpectedly, he went out in the rat tide and came back so embarrassed. "Where is the big rat? Did you kill it?" Gu Siyu took the first aid kit that Chao Jing found, took out the cotton swabs and alcohol inside, and used the dim moonlight to clean Zhenghong simply. "No, that rat was too strong. Fortunately, there were several powerful zombies holding it back, so we were able to get away safely." Chao Jing shook his head, and was also afraid of the experience just now. "It's a pity, it was just a little bit short. If the water chain lasted 1 more second, we would probably be able to kill it." Alcohol was poured on the wound. Zhenghong grimaced in pain, but still said with regret, "That rat actually sheds its hair. Its move is too strong." The water chain was broken almost instantly. Chao Jing was embarrassed when he heard it. In fact, even if his water chain lasted another second, Zhenghong could not kill the second-level mutant rat king. The stone spear of the B-level ability has limited hardness. It is estimated that it can only hurt the rat king at most. If Zhenghong wants to kill it with 1 shot, he must at least reach the second-level to do it. However, Zhenghong and others are not clear about these situations. The information gap in the early stage of the apocalypse is huge. Until now, Zhenghong and the others actually don't know how huge the gap between their strength and the second-level mutant rat king is. The brief fight and lucky escape gave the 2 an illusion that if they were just a little stronger, they would be able to kill the mutant rat. Chapter 52 Gu Siyu's Conjecture. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why do you have to fight with this rat? Gu Siyu asked puzzledly. She had objected to the 2 of them going out to watch the fight before, but she didn't expect that they actually started to fight directly. You haven't seen it. That rat is specifically looking for zombies that suddenly become powerful. I even saw it eating the heads of those special zombies. It wouldn't even touch ordinary zombies. This shows that those special zombies are of great use to it. Chao Jing suddenly became excited and retorted. Even so, you should be killing zombies. Why are you fighting with rats? Gu Siyu turned to look at Chao Jing aside, with a puzzled look on her face. This. Chao Jing was suddenly speechless and turned to look at Zhenghong. Let me tell you. Zheng Hong moved his body to make himself more comfortable. I found that there seemed to be something in the heads of those zombies. The Rat King did not eat the whole head. I could vaguely see it. It picked out a crystal and ate it. Siyu, you should be able to think of something at this point. You mean, the legendary crystal core? Gu Siyu said with a surprised look on his face after hearing this. It should be. We have read a lot of movies, TV shows and novels. I guess that thing should be the legendary crystal core. Otherwise, why would the Rat King be looking for those special zombies? Zheng Hong nodded. He said with determination. In fact, his analysis was pretty accurate, but when they were killing ordinary zombies before, they didn't find anything special. After seeing the scene just now, and the Rat King seemed to be seriously injured, it was a rare opportunity, so he took action boldly. It's a pity that they misjudged the strength of the second-order mutant Rat King and collapsed in a short time. If ordinary zombies are the basis, those special zombies should be level 1. The Rat King, who is stronger than the special zombies, is probably level 2. Gu Siyu pondered for a while and said seriously. I estimate that I can fight at most one of the special zombies. If it weren't for the fact that the Rat King was injured, we wouldn't have considered taking the risk at all. Zheng Hong looked a little unhappy. Looking back now, it was indeed a bit too risky. My water chain should be able to restrain the first-level zombies. The second-level Rat King was broken in just 1 second. Chao Jing looked sad. Then I estimate that your strength should be around level 1, and you will definitely not be a match for the mutated Rat King at level 2. You will definitely, never be so reckless next time. Gu Siyu looked serious, feeling very lucky that Zheng Hong and Chao Jing were able to come back safe and sound. If her estimate is correct, with Zheng Hong and Chao Jing's current combat capabilities, they can come back alive, thanks to the generosity of those first-level zombies. Without the protection of these two people, they really don't know if they can survive without the power to restrain the chicken. If Wang Mingyang were here and heard what Gu Siyu said, he would definitely give her a thumbs up. This woman really has a lot of skills, and her analysis is absolutely correct. Chen Rui, who was standing aside and watching silently, suddenly felt something in his heart and said, Brother Hong, have you met Wang Mingyang? Wang Mingyang. Zheng Hong was stunned when he heard this, looked at each other with Chao Jing, shook his head and said, No, we didn't see him when we got to the rooftop over there. In fact, under the moonlight, the view was quite clear, but there were debris everywhere on the rooftop. Wang Mingyang was squatting in the corner, and Zheng Hong and the others couldn't see it at all. And Wang Mingyang didn't see the two of them arriving at first. That's a pity. He has awakened his superpower. If he can join forces with Brother Hong and you guys, maybe we can kill that second-level rat. Chen Rui had a look of regret on his face, but a different light shone in his eyes. Forget it, that kid is a bit naughty, I don't have time to pay attention to him now. Zheng Hong curled his lips, obviously not liking Wang Mingyang, but the two women next to Wang Mingyang are indeed a bit tempting. Zheng Hong thought and licked his lips. Chen Rui, who had been observing Zheng Hong's expression, saw a meaningful smile on his lips, but said no more. In the dim candlelight, Wang Mingyang continued to read the book. The zombies outside had dispersed one after another, and scattered roars could be heard from time to time. The rat tide has receded and there will not be much danger for the time being, but Wang Mingyang has not forgotten the mutated mosquito swarm last night. Anyway, there were candles in Suyu's house, so Wang Mingyang kept the iron sheets wrapped around the windows. Although the ventilation was not very good, it was better than fighting those mosquitoes all night again. In fact, there is no guarantee that mosquito swarms will attack, but it is always good to be just in case. Just in time, Wang Mingyang was ready to exercise his powers. The level promotion of superpowers relies on the absorption of crystal nuclei to improve their own energy and physique. The utilization rate of homologous crystal nuclei is higher. The awakened person's own development of superpowers includes understanding of his own abilities, unconstrained imagination, eclectic creation, and improving the use and power of superpowers, coupled with the tempering of one's own mental power and physical fitness. The superpowers will be enhanced as the awakened person's own level increases. The three complement each other and are indispensable. The intensity of mental power limits the precision of the control of superpowers. For mental superpowers and mysterious superpowers, it also limits the power of superpowers. The strength of physical fitness limits the upper limit of transformation and enhancement systems. Certain mysterious powers require the user to have a strong physique in order to withstand the cost of using the powers. The amount of energy limits the maximum output of the superpower. The power of the superpower released by the element system in the early stage depends more on the reserve of its own energy. The energy in the bodies of superpower users of different levels varies greatly. Even if it is the same superpower, the energy provided is different, and the effect produced will be very different. This is why Wang Mingyang has always asked Siyu and Mu Ningxue to use their spare time to exercise their superpowers. Only by continuous exercise and being able to freely control superpowers in subtle moments can one have a deep understanding of one's own abilities. At the same time, through this exercise, one can temper one's own mental strength, maintain consumption while also subtly increasing the energy in the body. A few days before the end of the world, it is indeed difficult to quickly upgrade the level. The point is not how dangerous it is, but that there are not many mutant creatures above the first level that can produce crystal cores. A strange thing like the second-level mutant rat king that can launch a rat tied to Rei's goo is completely a probabilistic event. This situation is the first time that Wang Mingyang, who has lived 2 lives, has encountered. Chapter 53, Vigilance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was late at night. Wang Mingyang asked Siyu and Mu Ningxue to rest first, and he thought again and again, took out the book A Brief History of Time and began to read it. Now his reserve of superpower fragments, mustard space, 2/8, time stillness, 1/20, metal control fragments, 5. At present, the control range of the steel needle has increased to 20 meters, and the range of liquefied metal has increased to 15 meters. This range is strong enough, even if the zombie tide comes, he is sure to escape unscathed. At the same time, the speed of superpower release is faster, whether it is metal liquefaction, shaping, or the speed of steel needle shooting. It has been significantly enhanced, and the power is stronger. This superpower upgrade is an all-round enhancement, and the comprehensiveness of A-level superpower metal control is being demonstrated step by step. Counting the physical enhancement when he was promoted to the first level, he has experienced 3 enhancements, and his physical fitness is infinitely close to the second level. Space cutting is still only a primary ability, but with the increase of energy in Wang Mingyang's body and the enhancement of mental power, the number of times space cutting has been released has increased from 8 to 15. It's not that S-level space cutting is not as good as A-level metal control, it's just that Wang Mingyang's current level is too low. Only when his level goes up, the power of space-related abilities will be further demonstrated. After a sleepless night, there were no mutant mosquito swarms or other mutant biological populations tonight. For Wang Mingyang, this is a good thing. At least his reading process is not disturbed. After reading all night, Wang Mingyang harvested 3 mustard space fragments, 2 time still fragments, and even 3 space-cutting fragments. Until the sky outside gradually brightened, Wang Mingyang controlled the iron plate wrapped around the window to spread out, revealing the morning sunlight. His fragment reserves also became mustard space, May 8, time still, 3/20, space-cutting fragments 3, metal control fragments, 5. The reading value increased by 2,000 points, a total of 5621. Thinking about it, his scalp still tingles. If he wants to improve the space cutting, he will probably have to work hard for a while. Time stillness made him speechless. The primary awakening requires 20 fragments. I don't know how long it will take to collect them, only the mustard space is slightly better. If he works harder, it is estimated that the extraction will be completed by tomorrow morning at the latest. Thinking about this ability is still very good. At least I don't need to carry a backpack when I go out in the future, right? Brother Mingyang, have you not slept yet? Siyu walked out of the bedroom sleepily and saw Wang Mingyang sitting behind the tea table on the balcony at a glance. The soft and sticky voice that was not awake yet sounded. Well, I'll go to bed in a while. Wang Mingyang raised his head and smiled. Siyu was wearing a cute pink nightgown. Her white arms and long legs were exposed in the morning sun, with a hint of tempting light. Oh, I'll cook you a bowl of noodles. You can go to bed after you finish eating. Siyu patted his cheek to wake himself up and whispered softly. Okay, give me 2 fried eggs. Okay, wait a moment. Siyu smiled, turned and ran into the bathroom, quickly washed his face, and ran into the kitchen to get busy. After a long while, until Siyu came out with a big bowl of egg noodles, Mu Ningxue walked out of the bedroom in a black nightgown. The two girls slept together last night, and it seemed that after yesterday's battle, the intimacy between the two quickly soared. Xiao Yuer, I want some too. Mu Ningxue looked at the egg noodles in Suyu's hand and pouted sleepily. There are still some in the kitchen, I'll save them for you. Siyu smiled and put the egg noodles in his hand on the dining table. Wang Mingyang put away his book, glanced at Mu Ningxue, walked to the dining table, sat down and started to show off the egg noodles without hesitation. I have to say that this ice snow girl is really good. The black suspender nightgown on Mu Ningxue is so high that it reveals half of her white thighs, which is eye-catching, although it is pleasing to the eye. Wang Mingyang shook his head a little. Surviving in the apocalypse, you may encounter emergencies at any time. Relying on Wang Mingyang's protection, Siyu and Mu Ningxue have obviously not adapted to this situation. She even changed into pajamas when sleeping. If mutants or zombies attack, there is no time for you to change clothes slowly before fighting. Maybe the situation is critical and you have to run away immediately. Wearing such a nightgown, tut tut tut, the scene is too sexy. Thinking of this, Wang Mingyang felt that he needed to strengthen the training of these two beauties, otherwise 1S level and 1A level might not be able to develop potential into strength. After slurping the egg noodles, Wang Mingyang wiped his lips and looked at Mu Ningxue across the table. Mu Ningxue, who was chewing slowly, noticed Wang Mingyang's gaze, frowned slightly, and looked up at him in confusion. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? No. Then why are you looking at me? If you don't look at me, how do you know I'm looking at you? Wang Mingyang's sudden trickery made Mu Ningxue, who was originally a little nervous, speechless. Okay, I'm too lazy to tease you. Siyu, come here too. Wang Mingyang laughed and waved to Siyu. Hearing this, Siyu came from the kitchen with a bowl of egg noodles, pulled out a chair and sat next to Mu Ningxue. I'm afraid you haven't figured it out yet, it's the end of the world now. Wang Mingyang's face was calm, but his tone gradually became serious. Is there anything wrong? Siyu was puzzled. In the end times, emergencies can happen at any time. Look at yourselves, is there anything wrong? Wang Mingyang continued. The two women looked around, looked at each other, and shook their heads in confusion. Nothing is wrong. Mu Ningxue tilted her head and thought for a while, puzzled. Don't you think that this dress is not right? Wang Mingyang was full of black lines, and pointed his finger at Mu Ningxue's chest. Mu Ningxue's cheeks flushed, and she looked down at her own peaks, with deep ravines. Could it be? Siyu on the side seemed to have some reaction. Are you too comfortable? This is already the end of the world. If you encounter mutant creatures again in the middle of the night, are you going to wear this dress to fight the mutant creatures? Wang Mingyang was a little disappointed. If it was before the end of the world, he would have liked to see this scenery at any time, but now it is the end of the world, he must wake up the two and keep vigilant at all times. I'll go take a rest in a while. You two will be on guard. Not only should you guard against zombies and mutant creatures, but you should also be alert to the survivors. Siyu, remember those people we met in the lobby of the provincial library when the end of the world came? Others must think so too. Mu Ningxue, you haven't forgotten what Zhao Ding did to you, right? Human nature in the end of the world can't stand the test, and you don't want to experience it again. After saying this, Wang Mingyang got up and walked towards the bedroom. A series of sharp words made Siyu and Mu Ningxue look pale. They were silent for a while and thought about it. Obviously, they were already in the end of the world and had seen so many cruel facts. Why were they still so relaxed and comfortable, without any sense of crisis in the end of the world? Until the sound of the door closing behind them, Siyu and Mu Ningxue slowly raised their heads and looked back with complicated eyes. All this seemed to be because of that figure. Chapter 54, Joint Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The living room was silent. Siyu and Mu Ningxue sat at the dining table. They looked charming and attractive in their pink and black pajamas, but the two women were in a very complicated mood at the moment. Last night, they were still choosing Suyu's clothes together. After putting on her pajamas, they secretly compared their figures and looks, but early in the morning, Wang Mingyang poured a basin of cold water on them, pulling them back to the reality of the end of the world. Sister Shui, we seem to be too dependent on Brother Mingyang. Siyu took the chopsticks and faced the egg noodles in front of her, which still exuded an attractive aroma, but she couldn't get up her appetite at all. Well, you're right. We have awakened our superpowers, but we have been hiding under his wings. Mu Ningxue lowered her head and stirred the bowl of noodles unconsciously with the chopsticks in her hand. Although it was only the third day of the end of the world, Siyu felt that it seemed like a long time had passed, and she was even more dependent on Wang Mingyang for everything, even though she also had powerful superpowers. However, apart from the 2 strikes against the zombies, she did not exert much effort for 2 whole days. It was Wang Mingyang who had been protecting them. I've decided. I'm going to kill zombies. Siyu picked up a spoonful of noodles, said this in a firm tone, and took a big bite of noodles. Well, I'll go too. We both have S-level abilities. How can I be so much worse than him? Mu Ningxue did the same thing, chewing the noodles in her mouth and speaking vaguely. Okay, let's finish eating quickly, change clothes, and clean up some zombies downstairs first. Siyu nodded and sped up the speed of flashing noodles. Okay. After a brief exchange, the 2 girls began to make up their minds and did not want to be Wang Mingyang's hind legs again. Wang Mingyang, who was standing behind the door of the second bedroom, smiled, took off his clothes, and jumped onto the bed in his shorts. After staying up all night, Wang Mingyang was indeed a little sleepy. He controlled the metal to block the doors and windows, and then fell asleep. Siyu and Mu Ningxue quickly finished their noodles and simply cleaned up the table. They returned to the bedroom to wash up and put on sportswear that was easy to move in. They tied their long hair into high ponytails and walked out with swords in hand. Turning his head to look at the door of the second bedroom, Siyu suddenly remembered something and turned to look at Mu Ningxue. Sister Shui, the doors and windows of the entire building have been sealed by Brother Mingyang. How can we get out? It doesn't matter. Let's go from the rooftop and clean up the small building next door first. Mu Ningxue thought for a while, looked up at the ceiling, and smiled slightly. Okay, we'll cooperate when the time comes. Siyu nodded and walked out the door. Well, I figured out another way to use my superpowers. I can create an ice shield that can protect me. Really? That's a relief. My power doesn't have much defensive power, but it's good at attacking. Then you attack, and I defend. No problem. The 2 girls discussed the next move in a low voice, went out quietly, and went straight to the rooftop. Although Wang Mingyang was a little worried about the 2 girls going out alone, he didn't stop them. When he said that, he guessed that the 2 girls would definitely do this. However, both girls have experienced many battles with him, and both have awakened superpowers with high potential. As long as they don't commit suicide by attracting the zombies, small-scale combat is not a problem for them. In the early days of the apocalypse, after awakening superpowers, even if they are bitten by zombies, they will not become zombies again, unless the injury is caused by high-level zombies. But where can we find high-level zombies now? Does anyone know where zombies above level 3 are? Waiting online, it's urgent. High-level zombies mean high-level crystal cores. If the method is right, Wang Mingyang, who has 2 superpowers, will be very likely to die in his space cutting even if he attacks a 3rd-level zombie, although there is only one way to use the S-level space cutting superpower at present. But the terrifying cutting ability is probably not something that even a 3rd-level bronze-armored zombie can defend against. Siyu and Mu Ningxue observed at the stairs and confirmed that there was no danger before stepping onto the rooftop. The 2 of them looked around and chose a small building next door, and jumped directly to the opposite rooftop with a running start. Following the stairs down, Siyu tapped the railing lightly with his horizontal sword, making a few light sounds. Immediately, several zombies roared, and after judging the location of the zombies, Siyu gave Mu Ningxue a look. Then he kicked the door hard, and a zombie behind the door fell out. With the door panel, Suyu's physical fitness was strengthened by a superpower, and his strength doubled. The kick was nearly 200 kilograms in force. When Siyu followed Wang Mingyang in his battle with the zombies, he clearly felt the changes in his body. He was not surprised at all by this manifestation of strength. Xiao you are so strong, that Mu Ningxue was a little surprised. She had always run with Wang Mingyang before, even if she used a knife to chop zombies. She didn't think Siyu was anything special because of the sharpness of the horizontal knife. After awakening, Mu Ningxue had not tested her physical strength, and her attention was all on her own ice ability. She was completely unaware that her own strength had skyrocketed. The moment the door opened, Mu Ningxue stretched out her hand towards Siyu and wiped it in the air. A blue ice shield quickly condensed and floated in front of Siyu. "It's so beautiful," Siyu praised. This ice shield was diamond-shaped and crystal clear like a large sapphire. While speaking, he stared at the fallen zombie with his eyes fixed, and the sword in his hand was entangled with flames. "Sister Xue, your strength must have increased, you will know if you try it." Siyu stepped forward and slashed down with a knife. Blood splattered immediately, and the zombie's head was split open. Mu Ningxue followed closely behind, with several ice cones condensed from energy floating around him, and the sharp tips flashed with cold light. There seemed to be only one zombie in the living room. The two searched for a while, but found nothing else. Mu Ningxue was still a little confused about what Siyu said. Seeing the wooden door next to her, she couldn't help but clench her fist and swung it. Bang! The white fist passed through the door, and Mu Ningxue was stunned for a moment. This is too strong, the power has really increased. Really? What's going on? When you awaken your superpowers, you will consume a lot of energy and enhance your physical fitness. You were unconscious at that time. After you woke up, you kept saying you were hungry and ate a lot of food. Why didn't I hear you say that before? Mu Ningxue was puzzled. I was so curious about your superpowers at that time that I forgot to tell you about it. Siyu stuck out his tongue embarrassedly, revealing an awkward smile. Forget it, it's a good thing anyway. Mu Ningxue pinched Suyu's cheek and smiled faintly. The two of them walked out of the living room and headed downstairs. The first to fourth floors of this small building were also rented to nearby college students. It seems that there are still many people left over on the weekend. Siyu and Mu Ningxue spent most of the day cleaning up the entire small building, killing a total of 7 or 8 zombies. Both of them were stained with a lot of dirty blood, but they frowned and endured the nausea and continued to search for the next small building. In this process, Mu Ningxue finally discovered that her physical fitness had been greatly enhanced after awakening her superpowers. After confirming this from Siyu, Mu Ningxue couldn't help but get excited. She had learned a lot of fighting techniques, but due to the limited strength of girls, these fighting techniques were basically powerless. Except for a few more insidious female anti-wolf techniques, for that kind of moves, whether the power is enhanced or not is not very meaningful. Anyway, one kick will result in nothing. Not only that, Mu Ningxue found that her special ice cone was surprisingly useful. Mu Ningxue finally felt the ease and comfort when Wang Mingyang was cleaning up the zombies. Without moving her body, she thought of a thought in her mind, and the ice cones around her shot out and pierced the heads of the zombies that rushed out of the room. The main feature is a graceful look which is very handsome. Unfortunately, Mu Ningxue's ice cones are not tough enough and the sharpness is not as good. When killing zombies, the ice cones will also break, and there is no way to have almost unlimited steel needles like Wang Mingyang. Mu Ningxue had to replenish the number of ice cones from time to time, and her physical energy consumption obviously increased a lot. Chapter 55 Target, University Town. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sister Xue, your ice cone is really convenient, almost the same as Brother Mingyang's steel needle. Siyu raised the knife to be alert, and smiled without turning his head. It's okay, but it's a pity that it's not hard enough and can't be reused like him. Mu Ningxue's mouth curled up slightly, but still shook her head. I guess you just awakened your superpowers and your control is not enough. Brother Mingyang awakened on the day of the end of the world. Siyu kicked open a door and saw that there were no zombies inside, so he turned around and walked out. Besides, you control ice, but he controls metal. How can ice be tougher than metal? That's true, but I still feel that my ice should be tougher. Mu Ningxue nodded, and then said unwillingly. Of course, Brother Mingyang said that superpowers can be improved through continuous training. Siyu said with deep conviction, she personally felt the improvement of superpowers. After just 2 days of unremitting training, her supernatural power has indeed increased a lot. Yeah. Strengthen your training. Mu Ningxue clenched her right fist and made a cheering gesture. The two girls smiled at each other, turned around and walked out, and continued to clean up the small building. Until noon, the two girls cleaned up 5 small buildings in total. They also found a few frozen chickens in a refrigerator. Although the power was off for a day, there were a lot of ice cubes in the refrigerator, and these frozen chickens were still edible. They found 2 large bags to pack the frozen chickens, and the two girls carried 1 bag each and walked out, passing the rooftop. Returning to Suyu's house, Wang Mingyang had already gotten up and sat behind the tea table. Brother Mingyang, you got up so early. You only slept for 4 hours. Siyu saw Wang Mingyang and was surprised. It's okay, I've had enough sleep. Wang Mingyang looked up at the two of them, confirmed that they were fine, and then lowered his head to continue reading, but he nodded secretly in his heart. The first-level zombies around him had been cleared yesterday. Both of them have awakened their special powers. Facing a small number of ordinary zombies, they are basically in a crushing posture. If something goes wrong, there is really no need to train them. Of course, this is also because Mu Ningxue is the ice and snow goddess in the previous life. Her ice and snow special powers are superb. When she exerts her full strength, snowflakes are flying all over the sky, as terrible as a natural disaster. Although only basic ice abilities have been developed now, there should be no worries in terms of safety. We found a few frozen chickens, which look fresh. I will make you braised chicken for lunch. Siyu picked up the bag with a smile and showed the chicken in his hand. Okay, I am indeed a little greedy. Wang Mingyang laughed. In the 5 years of the apocalypse, there were not many opportunities to eat hot meals, not to mention the freshly fried braised chicken. That is basically impossible. After Rebirth, I only had steak and Australian lobster in the past few days, which did not satisfy my appetite at all. It was a home-cooked dish before the apocalypse, but it became a luxury after the apocalypse. Now calm down. Suyu's words made her drool immediately. Wait a minute, I'll do it now. Seeing Wang Mingyang like it, Siyu immediately became happy, put the horizontal knife on the wall, and walked to the kitchen. Hey, Xiaoyer, what should we do with these? Mu Ningxue shouted, lifted the big bag in her hand, which contained 3 or 4 frozen chickens. Of course put it in the refrigerator. Siyu was stunned and said. You forgot, the power is out now. Mu Ningxue said helplessly. You can make ice. It's a matter of moving your hands. Siyu smiled, took Mu Ningxue's hand and left. Hey, you stinky girl, you treat me as an ice maker. Hee, this is not making the best use of everything, giving you the opportunity to exercise your supernatural powers. Mu Ningxue, Wang Mingyang. Hearing the conversation between the two girls, Wang Mingyang suddenly remembered his own freezing technique, which seemed to be extracted from the nursery rhyme refrigerator. However, the freezing technique has been fused with the tortoise shell technique and bubble technique to become the suicide ice armor technique. Thinking of this, Wang Mingyang looked at the superpowers in the system bookshelf. The superpowers that have not been extracted so far include the 3 fused superpowers of ice armor, fluorescence, and vertical leap, as well as the 3 E-level superpowers of underwater breathing, communication, and silk spinning. Maybe, I should change my mind. Wang Mingyang murmured to himself. Time stillness, mustard seed space cutting, and metal control. These 4 superpowers are indeed extremely powerful. However, the time and energy required are also huge. Can I get a lot of basic superpowers by reading some introductory books? And then through the fusion of these superpowers, I can pile up a few powerful superpowers. Thinking of this, Wang Mingyang smacked his lips, but shook his head. Fusion of superpowers requires reading value. Reading introductory books is like children's books, like 300 nursery rhymes. Although it is true that a lot of complete superpowers can be extracted, the reading value given is too little. If those basic superpowers are taken out and decomposed, some reading values can indeed be obtained. However, if a lot of time is spent on fusing unknown superpowers, and even if the primary superpowers are fused, the obtained superpowers will not be powerful. In this way, Wang Mingyang always feels that it is not worth the loss. The superpowers chosen for fusion are mostly useless. This will screen out some superpowers, and there will be even fewer that can be used for fusion, and each ability is special. Maybe a seemingly useless ability will be of great use at certain times. Not only that, when fusing superpowers, you want to avoid suicidal side effects like ice armor, you must invest a lot of reading value. This is the reason why Wang Mingyang feels that this road is unworkable. Spending a lot of time reading children's books will get too little reading value. Even if the ability can be decomposed, the reading value can be obtained. Overall, the time spent is not as good as reading through a book with higher knowledge content. You can also get high-level superpower fragments. This lunch on the third day of the apocalypse is a rich one. There were still some vegetables left in the refrigerator of Suyu's house, which made Wang Mingyang extremely greedy. Thanks to Suyu's cooking skills, he quickly cooked up braised chicken, cola chicken wings, cabbage in vinegar, cucumber salad, and white bean stewed ham. The 5 dishes were all large portions. Suyu's cooking skills were very good, and the 3 of them devoured them. Wang Mingyang and Mu Ningxue rubbed their bellies and leaned on the sofa, while Siyu put away the dishes and washed them in the kitchen. You will continue to exercise in the next 2 days. We will go out together the day after tomorrow. I want to visit the university town. After a while, Wang Mingyang saw Siyu coming out wiping his hands and said calmly, Mu Ningxue, university town. Siyu tilted his head, Brother Mingyang, why do you suddenly want to go to the university town? There are so many zombies there. It's just because it's so dense that I want to take a look. Wang Mingyang nodded with a calm look on his face. Besides, I also want to visit the library there. Go and read a book. Siyu said a little uncertainly. Well, I'm looking for some books. Wang Mingyang answered in the affirmative, but what he wanted was not just to find a few books, but to empty out the library there. Okay. Let's go with you. Siyu and Mu Ningxue looked at each other and sighed helplessly. They have deeply understood Wang Mingyang's persistence in reading. In the apocalypse, don't hurry up to train your superpowers or hoard supplies. Instead, I thought about going to the library. Brother, you are so obsessed with reading. Now is the end of the world. There are as many scary zombies as dogs, and mutated rats are everywhere. That is to say, they have awakened their superpowers and can easily deal with ordinary zombies. Otherwise, I really wouldn't dare run around with him. Window_Tabula equals window_Tabula_Tabula.push mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, Tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target_type, mix. Chapter 56, Replace Muskets with Cannons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After lunch, we took a short break. Wang Mingyang shot all the steel needles on the back of the mutant rat king last night, and now there is no silver bead on his body. Looking around, most of the metal products in Suyu's house have been used to seal the windows. Since there is nothing useful at home, Wang Mingyang took the 2 women who have recovered their strength out. However, the 3 did not choose to go downstairs, but went straight to the rooftop. Standing on the rooftop, you can see the university town from afar. It is about 3 kilometers away from the nearest university, Chunqing Normal University. Brother Mingyang, which school do you want to go to? Siyu looked into the distance and asked softly. Yunnan University. Wang Mingyang has a clear goal. Oh, Siyu nodded. Yunnan University is considered the best university in Yunnan province. It is also suitable to go there if you want to find a library. Well, I have to prepare my weapons first. After Wang Mingyang said this, he took the lead and walked towards Yunnan University, followed by Siyu and Mu Ningxue. You cleaned up several small buildings this morning. Do you know which room has the most metal objects? I remember the 3rd building in front. The kitchen there is very big, with many pots and pans, most of which are stainless steel. Siyu thought for a while and said. It seems that the 1st floor of that store sells kitchenware, and there are many iron pots and knives. Mu Ningxue added. Okay, let's go here first. I need to replenish some steel needles. Wang Mingyang's eyes lit up and he immediately decided. What about your previous ones? Those are all forged by me. Siyu is puzzled. Wang Mingyang touched his nose and felt a little embarrassed. I shot it on the Rat King last night and didn't have time to recover it. Siyu. Mu Ningxue, the three of them quickly entered the third small building through the rooftop. The zombies inside had been cleaned up by the two women. Wang Mingyang walked into the living room and saw all kinds of ironware in the open kitchen at a glance. With a wave of his hand, the steel knives turned into metal liquid and gathered in front of him. Wang Mingyang closed his eyes and sensed it. The ability was activated again, and a part of the silver-white liquid was separated from a large mass of metal liquid. This ball of silver liquid composed of titanium alloy slowly floated into Wang Mingyang's palm. After testing the weight, Wang Mingyang nodded with satisfaction. When the metal control ability manipulates metal, the lighter the metal, the less energy it consumes. After reading basics of metallurgy many times, Wang Mingyang still gained a lot, but his metal control ability is far from reaching the molecular level of control. In this way, there is no way to adjust the molecular structure of the metal itself to construct the lightest and hardest metal alloy. Although titanium alloy is not the hardest metal product, it is light in weight, and the steel needles and blades formed are sharp enough. This is the most cost-effective control object for Wang Mingyang. When carrying it with you, you will not be affected by the excessive weight caused by carrying too much. Turning downstairs, he sorted out many knives and iron pots on the first floor and extracted a large amount of titanium alloy. After being calcined again by Suyu's dark flame ability, a large ball of refined and enchanted titanium alloy was stuffed into the backpack. Wang Mingyang stuffed two more separated silver beads into his pocket. Now Wang Mingyang is like a cannon for a musket. At this time, he only wanted to say to the mutant Rat King, "If you dare to jump in front of me again, I will shoot you all over." Looking at the large group of metal balls floating around him, Wang Mingyang couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If he had synthesized the mustard space ability at this time, he could just stuff all these titanium alloys in, and there would be no need for such trouble, but he was reluctant to throw them aside, because they were all weapons to kill the enemy. Wang Mingyang, who was not very concerned about the mustard space ability, suddenly felt a sense of urgency. He must gather enough fragments of the mustard space ability as soon as possible so that he can carry a large amount of supplies with him. This is too good. At that time, he doesn't have to search for the control steel needle, and can directly transform into Li Xiaoyao and wave his hand to perform the 10,000 swordsmanship. It's all about being handsome. I'll go back first, you guys continue to clean up and practice. If you meet a survivor, be more careful, don't be a saint, Wang Mingyang said, and walked down the rooftop by himself, leaving the two women looking at each other. He really trusts us so much. Siyu was speechless. Who cares? Anyway, we have been acting alone for a whole morning, so it doesn't make much difference whether he is there or not. Mu Ningxue was very calm. In fact, she didn't reject Wang Mingyang's free-range method. Okay. We work hard and will surpass him sooner or later, so that he will bow his head and call me sister, Siyu shook her bangs and turned to walk towards the rooftop on one side. Mu Ningxue smiled slightly, shook her head and followed him, with an ice flower faintly condensed in her hand, ready to release an ice shield at any time. Wang Mingyang returned to the house with the metal ball, transformed it into a metal cube and placed it in a corner of the living room. He took out the book and returned to the desk, brewed a pot of tea leisurely, and continued to read the book. This time, he focused more on understanding the knowledge of quantum mechanics and the microcosm, hoping that through this knowledge, he could increase the probability of obtaining the mustard seed space superpower fragments. For this purpose, he also specially found a book Discovery and Explanation, The Secret of the Material World. After thinking carefully, he materialized another Avatamsaka Sutra from the System Library, a science book, a theology book. Maybe while bringing him knowledge, he can also get some extra inspiration. The cigarette smoke is accompanied by a hint of tea fragrance. If before the end of the world, tell everyone that they can get superpowers by reading, I believe that the most profitable ones are definitely those bookstores. The host is detected to be familiar with a brief history of time, and the S-level superpower time standstill fragment is extracted. +1, time standstill superpower, April 20th. Bonus reading value, 1000 points. Host reading value, 6,621 points. The host is detected to have read Discovery and Explanation, The Secret of the Material World for the first time, and the A-level superpower Mustard Seed Space Fragment is extracted +1, Mustard Seed Space Superpower, 6/8. Bonus reading value, 100 points. Host reading value, 6,721 points. The host is detected to have read Avatamsaka Sutra for the first time, and the superpower Mustard Seed Space Fragment is extracted +1, Mustard Seed Space Superpower, 7/8. Bonus reading value, 100 points. Host reading value, 6,821 points. Wang Mingyang suddenly discovered that this Buddhist classic not only gave reading value, but also actually extracted Mustard Seed Space ability fragments. System, why can this theological book also extract ability fragments? This Avatamsaka Sutra belongs to the Blue Star theological book, but its theory on the universe is indeed unique. Great! Originally, I thought that this Avatamsaka Sutra book derived the concept of mustard seed containing sumeru from a theological perspective. Wang Mingyang wanted to use this to change his thinking. Maybe it would help understand the mustard seed space. Unexpectedly, fragments were really extracted. Surprise! It seems that religious books like this do have their own advantages. In this way, the mustard seed space ability fragment is only one piece away. Wang Mingyang was delighted and continued to work hard. Chapter 57 Synthetic Mustard Seed Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It is detected that the host is familiar with a brief history of time, and the A-level superpower Mustard Space Fragment is extracted +1, and the Mustard Space Superpower, August 8. The S-level superpower Time Stillness Fragment is extracted +1, and the Time Stillness Superpower, 5/20. The S-level superpower Space Cutting Fragment is extracted +1, and the Space Cutting Fragment, 4, reward reading value, 1,000 points. Host reading value, 7,621 points. After reading for an afternoon, Wang Mingyang finally gathered the Mustard Space Superpower fragments. 2 more Time Still fragments were added, and the distance to superpower synthesis is still far away. System, synthesize the Mustard Space Superpower. Wang Mingyang rubbed his hands, and the storage space was finally in hand. Ding! Synthesis successful. Obtain the A-level superpower Mustard Space, consuming 1,000 reading points. The host's current reading value, 6,621 points. Does the host want to absorb this superpower? Absorb quickly. I can't wait. Wang Mingyang laughed. The familiar feeling of absorbing superpowers came quickly, and Wang Mingyang felt refreshed. The 4th enhancement. After absorbing superpowers 3 times, he advanced to the 1st level. After 4 enhancements in total, his physical fitness has made a qualitative leap again. The energy and mental power in his body have all been increased. However, Wang Mingyang checked the ability of the Mustard Seed Space Superpower as soon as possible, following some simple information in his mind. Wang Mingyang stretched out his finger and tapped it lightly in front of him. A black dot appeared at the fingertips, and the black dot quickly expanded into a 2-meter-high circle. The edge of the circle flashed with a faint light, and the inside was brilliant. Wang Mingyang probed into it with his mental power, and the scene inside was immediately transmitted to his mind. It was a huge space, with a length, width and height of 10 meters on each side, which was calculated to be 1,000 cubic meters of space. Although it was not the huge space that could easily accommodate tens of billions of materials as the legend said, but in Wang Mingyang's view, it was completely enough. In fact, in the end of the world, due to the outbreak of zombies, the rampage of mutant creatures, and the power outage, basic living materials will become less and less, but as long as you have strength, food is not so easy to be in short supply. As time goes by, various mutant creatures in the end of the world will gradually become a source of food for humans. Various beasts reproduce very quickly, and their evolved bodies can enhance the physical fitness of humans. Some mutant plants will become bloodthirsty and cruel. Some will produce various fruits that can be eaten by humans, and their effects are even similar to the legendary spiritual fruits. However, such animals and plants need to pay a certain price to obtain. Unless you are strong enough, Wang Mingyang excitedly experimented until he became more and more proficient in using the mustard space ability. Soon, you can put the items into the space or take them out directly without opening the portal. This will be more concealed. He casually put the metal block in the corner into the space, and Wang Mingyang found that he could even liquefy and divide the metal directly in the mustard space. When he appeared outside again, it was already a bunch of steel needles. Wow! I can finally transform into Li Xiaoyao. Wang Mingyang excitedly controlled the steel needles to fuse and transform. With his current mental power and energy reserves, he could control hundreds of steel needles at a time without any pressure. Since this is the case, he might as well increase the power of the controlled objects. The lethality of the steel needles is indeed a bit low. If it had been at this level last night, the fat pig-like second-level Rat King would have no chance to escape with a body full of steel needles. Wang Mingyang continued to fuse the steel needles and stretch and shape them into small flying swords. For this purpose, he also specially found a sword atlas from the system library and flipped through it directly in his mind. You only need to look at the graphics. And you don't need to study them carefully. The reading value required for 10 points of embodiment. Save as much as possible. The landlord's family doesn't have surplus food, right? After trying many kinds of flying sword shapes, Wang Mingyang finally found that his brain was still a little insufficient. He wanted to make many beautiful flying swords, but the process was indeed a bit cumbersome and took a lot of time. Finally, he had to choose a relatively simple and elegant flying sword shape. Alas, when I reach a higher level and my brain becomes faster, I will become more handsome. Wang Mingyang stroked a small flying sword of 20 centimeters long and muttered to himself. Now, whether it is his mental power, ability reserve, or physical fitness, he has exceeded the limit of the second level. The range of metal control has increased to 30 meters. And the speed of the manipulated objects is faster and the lethality is stronger. The number of space cuts has increased to 25 times, and the length of the black line produced is close to 1 meter, but there is no feeling of breakthrough, and it should be only one step away from the promotion to the second level. Overall, the combat power is definitely above the second level, maybe, because his foundation is too solid, and he has far more superpowers than others. This is why his promotion is different from that in his previous life. But even so, before the crystal cores appeared, he was far ahead of everyone. Perhaps, the traditional superpower level can no longer measure my combat power. Feeling the changes in himself, Wang Mingyang was a little excited and a little confused. After rebirth, everything about him gradually separated from his previous life, and he took another path. For 2 consecutive days, Wang Mingyang was constantly familiarizing himself with his abilities, while taking time to read books. Although his strength has improved, he is still not clear about his own limits, so in the past 2 days, whether it is mental power or energy, he has been testing them separately, experimenting with the upper limits of both. When the energy is exhausted and the mental power is dry, he tests the pure physical quality again, jumping, running, punching strength, endurance level. One by one, he squeezed his potential, and the Zhutian Reading System brought him unlimited possibilities. But all these gains require him to constantly familiarize himself with and try them before he can use them freely. Through continuous practice, Wang Mingyang's combat power has increased rapidly. He even has a feeling that even if he encounters a third-level zombie or a mutant creature, he can go up and wrestle. Of course, it is indeed unrealistic to want to kill head-on. In his previous life, Wang Mingyang, with his 5th-level physical fitness, could only deal with ordinary 4th-level zombies or mutant creatures in close combat. If he encounters a powerful one, he can only turn around and run away. He is just an ordinary psychic. His body cannot compare to the strengthening or transformation system. Brother Mingyang, we are back. In the evening, Suyu's crisp voice sounded with the sound of opening the door, and Wang Mingyang looked up. The 2 women appeared at the door with blood on their bodies, smiling, but faintly exuding a heroic spirit. 2 consecutive days of independent fighting brought them more than just killing. There is also the confidence that was quickly built up, and the murderous aura like a blade out of the sheath. Although they only killed some unconscious zombies, this is also killing people. Thank you for your hard work. Are you injured? Wang Mingyang smiled slightly, and then asked with concern. No, Sister Shue's ice shield is very practical. She has resolved many dangers. Siyu put the horizontal sword aside and said with a smile. That's good, go wash up, we will eat later. Wang Mingyang pointed to the kitchen casually. The two women have been fighting outside for the past 2 days, and he prepared meals. He used the A-level metal control ability to cook, which was also unique to scorpions. Siyu and Mu Ningxue walked into the bedroom hand in hand, and soon the sound of running water came from inside. Chapter 58 The Grove at the University. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the 5th day of the apocalypse, Wang Mingyang asked Siyu and Mu Ningxue to have a good rest last night and adjust their physical condition to the best. After 2 days of continuous fighting, the two women have reached the critical point of the primary promotion to the first level. This afternoon, he is going to start the action in the university town. Some long-lost memories of the previous life are becoming clearer and clearer. There are indeed some things he wants in the university town. After lunch at noon, Wang Mingyang packed up a lot of supplies and stuffed them directly into the mustard space. All this was not done in front of the two women. He did not intend to expose the magic of the mustard space in front of the two women for the time being. He would hide it as long as he could. Now he only has enough metal for 4 small flying swords in his pocket. When the metal is not enough to perform the metal control ability, the space opening can be directly in the pocket or cuff. There is only a pack of cigarettes and a lighter in his pocket, and he feels relaxed. If he didn't think it was a waste to let Siyu light the cigarette, he would have thrown the lighter directly into the mustard space. Thinking about it, it is indeed a bit of a waste of resources. One day, I can extract the fire power and come by myself, with 2 beauties jumping around. On the rooftop, the 3 people's bodies strengthened by the power. The 5 or 6 meters between the rooftops is not an obstacle at all. Even if the distance is too wide, Wang Mingyang can easily control the metal objects on the rooftop to build a bridge and cross it. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the edge of the residential area, and they had to go through the streets to go forward. In a small building in the residential area, the footsteps from Tiantai Mountain woke up Zheng Hong and others. Climbing up the rooftop carefully, Zheng Hong stuck his head out of the passage to observe, but he only saw the backs of Wang Mingyang and the other 2 jumping down. Where are they going? Zheng Hong asked in confusion. Who is going there? The 4 people behind him did not see the backs of Wang Mingyang and the other 2, and Chao Jing asked in confusion. It seems to be Wang Mingyang and the others. I just saw them going in the direction of Yunnan University. Zheng Hong walked out of the passage and responded with confusion. Wang Mingyang. Chen Rui exclaimed, and the 3 people beside him were also surprised. Why would they choose to go out at this time? Gu Siyu whispered. Who cares where they go? Brother Hong, there is not much food in the room. Should we go out to collect some supplies? Yuyani, who was wearing a belly-revealing suspender and a miniskirt, stepped forward and said in a tender voice. Chen Rui's eyes flickered, looking in the direction of Yunnan University, shook his head and said, Wang Mingyang and his friends would not go out without a purpose. There must be some benefit to go out and take risks. I think we should follow them and see. Follow? Brother Hong and I have no problem, but the 3 of you are not awakened. How can you follow? Can you keep up? Chao Jing looked at Chen Rui with disdain, his tone mocking. Let's not go. Going there will only hold you back. Chen Rui laughed awkwardly, his voice lowered a few points. TSK, just the 2 of us, it's just adding to the risk. Maybe they are also short of supplies and are going out to replenish some. Chao Jing turned his head and didn't bother to pay attention to Chen Rui anymore. His eyes were full of contempt. This. Chen Rui didn't say anything more after hearing this, lowered his head and rubbed the rooftop unconsciously with his right foot, but a hint of resentment flashed in his eyes. Okay, there's no need to say this. The 2 of us haven't recovered from our injuries yet. It's really not suitable to make trouble. Zheng Hong waved his hand to interrupt the 2, glanced in the direction of Yunnan University, and turned to the other side. Collect some supplies first, and wait until Chao Jing and I are healed. Siyu, what do you think? That he was also very curious about the purpose of Wang Mingyang and the other 2, but his wounds were still aching. After awakening his superpowers, his physical fitness was greatly improved, and even his recovery from injuries was much faster. However, the experience that night made Zheng Hong clearly realize that he was not the so-called chosen son. He was still too weak to face this doomsday. In the brief fight with Wang Mingyang, he did not gain any advantage. On the contrary, he felt that Wang Mingyang's ability seemed to be stronger than his, at least in terms of lethality, it must be better than his. In terms of overall combat power, a second-level mutant rat king almost made him hate the Northwest. How many such powerful mutant creatures exist? Are there creatures stronger than the mutant rat king? Although Zheng Hong is not very sure, he believes that there must be. In a private communication with Gu Siyu gave him a positive guess. Gu Siyu did not awaken her ability, but this woman's analysis and judgment have always been insightful and accurate. Zheng Hong had to believe it. Brother Hong, you are right. The most urgent task is to collect supplies first. These supplies will become less and less in the future. We try to collect them now, and they will be of great use in the future. Gu Siyu looked in the direction of Yunnan University. Although she was unwilling to do so, she still nodded and agreed with Zheng Hong's decision. Before the end of the world, she had intelligence far beyond ordinary people, which made her feel that she could control everything. However, facing the sudden apocalypse, there are crazy zombies and mutant creatures everywhere. The clever Gu Siyu suddenly realized that only by mastering one's own power can one truly survive in the apocalypse. Wang Mingyang and the other two quickly walked through the streets, and the dense zombies caused them a lot of trouble. Fortunately, they cooperated well, and the zombies had become much less after the previous battle with the rat tide, which allowed them to quickly approach Yunnan University. After traveling several kilometers, Wang Mingyang and his team even passed through 3 residential areas. They passed through the rooftop, used metal to control their supernatural powers, and transformed into Spider-Man to jump and climb continuously, avoiding many zombies. Finally, an hour later, they arrived at the residential area opposite the side door of Yunnan University. Wang Mingyang squatted on the roof and looked down. There were a large number of zombies gathered at the side door of Yunnan University. This door happened to be near the dormitory area, and a large number of students stayed here when the doomsday came. There was a canteen a few hundred meters away from the dormitory, and there were many snack shops on the street outside the side door. These college students came out to find food at noon, and those who didn't come out were basically in the canteen or dormitory. Wang Mingyang, should we change places? There are too many zombies here. Mu Ningxue glanced around the surrounding environment and suggested with a frown. No, it doesn't make much sense to go around. We don't go through the gate. Go 500 meters to the left. There is a small forest behind a wall. Wang Mingyang shook his head and said calmly. He was very familiar with the environment here. After all, he had been here many times. Okay, let's do it. Seeing that he was confident, Mu Ningxue nodded in agreement. Under the leadership of Wang Mingyang, the 3 of them quickly moved to a wall around the corner. Looking up, the leaves were lush and green, and the sycamore trees that were more than 10 meters tall gathered together. Siyu, Brother Mingyang, you call this a grove? Wang Mingyang, before, it was only as high as this wall. Mu Ningxue, how many years ago was your before? Wang Mingyang tilted his head and thought for a while, then said uncertainly, 3 years. Or 4 years, Siyu, Mu Ningxue. In this time, the sycamore trees have grown up. Siyu slapped his forehead speechlessly. Never mind, there are usually not many people here anyway, and you can go directly to the teaching building. Wang Mingyang touched his nose. He usually worked part-time and often passed by here. At that time, these sycamore trees were indeed not very tall, but after 3 or 5 years, these trees have grown a lot taller. It really can't be called a small forest. Chapter 59. Is this the little noise you mentioned? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the grove was not quite the same as in his memory, it did not affect Wang Mingyang's plan to pass through here. Wang Mingyang jumped up and stood on the top of the wall. The 3-meter-high wall was just a drop of water for him who had been strengthened several times. Looking around, there were indeed few zombies in the woods. Wang Mingyang waved his hand, indicating that the 2 women were safe. Siyu and Mu Ningxue stepped back a few steps, jumped up one after another, and stood on the top of the wall easily with the help of Wang Mingyang, pointing in the direction of the teaching building. Wang Mingyang jumped down first. The library that Wang Mingyang wanted to go to was behind the teaching building, and he had to pass through the teaching building to get there. In the past, he worked part-time to earn money for his studies, carried buckets, delivered takeout, and even helped walk dogs and feed cats. Wang Mingyang had been here many times. After taking off his yellow jacket, he could enter the Yunnan University campus openly in the envious eyes of other takeout workers. Therefore, he was familiar with the dormitory area, teaching building and library of Yunnan University. Those college students who focused on studying often ordered takeout in the library and then ran to the grove to eat. Of course, Wang Mingyang ate a lot of dog food. At this moment, he returned to the old place with two beautiful girls, which he probably never thought of in his 2 lifetimes. Siyu and Mu Ningxue jumped down immediately after him, and the scattered zombies around heard the noise and rushed over quickly. The 2 girls did not wait for Wang Mingyang to shoot the flying sword, and took the initiative to meet him on the left and right. Wang Mingyang was also happy to be idle, standing aside with his hands folded. The dark flame wrapped around the knife and the ice cone shot quickly. The 2 girls cooperated tacitly and quickly eliminated 4 or 5 zombies. Not bad, not bad, your progress is rapid, and it is worth encouraging. Wang Mingyang clapped his hands and stepped forward, with an ant smile on his face. Suyu's pretty face was slightly red, and her face was full of bright smiles. Mu Ningxue had a blank expression on her face, but her evasive eyes revealed a hint of joy. The 2 girls were indeed happy to be recognized by Wang Mingyang. Let's go, we'll reach the library after passing through a few teaching buildings. Wang Mingyang grabbed a Moang and put his hands behind his back, and walked leisurely between the 2 of them. Less than 200 meters away, several teaching buildings came into view, but the scene in front of them made the 3 of them shudder. Dense zombies were all over the teaching buildings, and there were thousands of zombies gathered on the first floor. There were broken limbs and arms everywhere, blood was all over the ground, and many zombies were staggering around. It broke out on the weekend. How could there be so many zombies? The 3 of them hid behind a thick tree. Siyu poked his head out and looked at it, covering her mouth in surprise. I don't know, but it's a bit strange. Wang Mingyang shook his head. It stands to reason that the zombies broke out at noon on Saturday. At this time, the university is not in class, so there shouldn't be many people in the teaching building. Jian University often has lectures by famous teachers on weekends, or group leaders come to talk about success stories. There will be many students attending the lectures. Mu Ningxue was not surprised, and had an expression on her face that you 2 have never seen the world. Fuck. This is not a scam. Wang Mingyang was foul-mouthed. He originally thought that there would not be many zombies here. If he had known this, he would have chosen another way. Who knew that the doomsday would come and zombies would break out at that time? It was all fine before. Mu Ningxue rolled her eyes and couldn't complain. How do you know so clearly? Wang felt guilty for no reason and quickly changed the subject. I accompanied my dad here several times. Mu Ningxue sighed faintly, and didn't know how her father was doing now. Okay. You win. Wang Mingyang's mouth twitched slightly. This woman's casual words revealed a complete Versailles. As the CEO of a Fortune 500 company in the country, with a net worth of tens of billions, he does have the ability. As a second-generation rich girl, Mu Ningxue is indeed enviable. However, it is the end of the world now, and having money is useless. You still have to follow me obediently. What a pity. Wang Mingyang was secretly proud of himself, but the dense zombies in front of him were indeed a problem. After observing carefully for a while, Wang Mingyang had an idea in his mind. I will lead those zombies away later, and you find a chance to rush upstairs. I will be there soon. Wang Mingyang pointed to the nearest teaching building and the parking lot not far away. How are you going to lead them? Mu Ningxue asked in confusion. She did not doubt Wang Mingyang's ability, but was a little curious about his method. Are you safe alone? Siyu was more concerned about Wang Mingyang's safety. Don't worry. I just need to control those cars and make a little noise. Wang Mingyang smiled slightly and briefly explained the method. Zombies are very sensitive to fresh blood and sounds. Making some noise can indeed attract a large number of zombies. Get ready. As soon as the zombies under the teaching building are led away, go upstairs as fast as possible and rush to the rooftop. Wang Mingyang leaned over and whispered, preparing to approach the parking lot. Although Wang Mingyang's strength has greatly increased, the number of flying swords he can control can reach as many as 50, and he can quickly kill out when surrounded by zombies, but this will inevitably lead to a tough battle. Who knows how many zombies are hiding in the teaching building? It's better to have less trouble than more, and be more relaxed. Okay, be careful. The two girls said no more, adjusted their breathing, and were ready to run at any time. The grove was still 200 meters away from the parking lot, but Wang Mingyang's metal control ability had a maximum range of 30 meters, controlling metal to hit the vehicle. Taking into account the inertial flight distance, it could reach a range of about 50 meters, he needed to get at least 150 meters closer. He crouched and meandered along the grove, silently cleaning up. Several zombies along the way. Wang Mingyang quickly arrived at a fountain outside the parking lot. Looking up at the metal sculpture in the center of the fountain, Wang Mingyang smiled and waved his hand lightly. The huge metal sculpture melted quickly and condensed into 3 steel cones in the air, controlling the 3 steel cones to shoot at the 3 cars respectively. The next second, the front of the 3 cars was directly pierced, and the sharp system alarm sounded instantly. Throughout the silent campus. Roar! Roar! That the dense zombies under the teaching building were suddenly startled and roared. All the mutilated and horrified faces turned toward the parking lot, and a surging horde of zombies rushed over. Siyu and Muningshu hid behind a big tree, staring in amazement at the hundreds of zombies whizzing past them. There were still a steady stream of zombies gathering behind them, stumbling towards them. Is this the small movement you mentioned? I'm afraid there is a misunderstanding of the word small. Chapter 60, Fairy-like Spirit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The zombies in the nearby teaching buildings were running wildly. Even the zombies in the teaching buildings kept rushing out of the classrooms and fell heavily from the upper buildings like dumplings. Siyu and Muningshu had no time to rush forward, and the zombies quickly filled the corridor. If they rushed out at this time, they would be going against the current. With the current abilities of the two women, they would definitely be drowned in the zombie tide. Wang Mingyang was originally worried that the movement of a car was not loud enough to attract so many zombies. Unexpectedly, the 3 cars sounded the alarm at the same time, which directly triggered the zombie tide. He quickly waved his hand to signal the two women not to worry, and Wang Mingyang retreated quickly. Since the zombie tide had been triggered, Wang Mingyang simply melted and deformed the nearby metal before leaving, and shot it directly at other vehicles. Suddenly, the alarm sounded continuously, and the huge sound directly attracted the zombies to rush over like crazy. The zombie tide surged up and down the teaching building, and thousands of zombies ran out one after another. The zombies in the canteen and dormitory area in the distance were also attracted and stumbled towards this side. Wang Mingyang quickly returned to the two women and stared at the zombie tide that stretched for hundreds of meters ahead. After a long time, the car alarm continued to sound, but the zombies under the teaching building all rushed over. Only a small number of zombies rushed out of the corridor, and some zombies whose heads were not broken dragged their lame legs and broken hands and moved unsteadily. Let's go! Wang Mingyang shouted in a low voice and rushed to the teaching building first. The 3 of them stuck to the perspective and went around the tail of the zombie group. The scattered zombies along the way were shot and killed by Wang Mingyang's flying sword. This tiny movement was completely covered by the car alarm. Wow! Brother Mingyang, you have become a sword fairy. That while running all the way, Siyu discovered with his sharp eyes that Wang Mingyang's metal control object had turned into a flying sword. The flying sword shot out with a wave of his hand, just like the sword fairy in the film and television drama. Muningshu's eyes lit up. If Wang Mingyang was dressed in a white ancient costume, he would be as ethereal as soon as he went out. Basic exercises, basic exercises. Go up first. Wang Mingyang smiled. The killing power of the flying sword is indeed much stronger than that of the steel needle. A steel needle needs to be stirred when it is shot into the zombie's head. At least 2 or 3 steel needles are needed to kill it with one shot. The flying sword is much simpler. One sword kills one zombie kid. Rushing to the nearest teaching building with the 2 girls, Wang Mingyang did not dare to rush directly to the library. Zombies are still emerging from the teaching buildings behind. If you rush forward at this time, you will definitely collide with the subsequent zombie tide. Rushing to the teaching building, the three ran up the stairs to the 6th floor and rushed directly to the rooftop. Get rid of the zombies you meet along the way and climb the rooftop according to the plan. Opening the iron gate that blocks the rooftop, the three found that there were actually a few college students with terrified faces on the rooftop. "Who are you? Don't come over here," a handsome boy in casual clothes, holding a bloody steel pipe, pointed at the three people who suddenly appeared, trembling slightly, and growled. Two boys also held the steel pipes, with fierce faces, while the other two girls were terrified and huddled tightly behind the three boys. Wang Mingyang frowned, ignored the 5 people, and walked straight to the edge of the rooftop and looked down. "Who are you?" Seeing that they didn't answer, the casual suit couldn't help but question again, but his voice was a little trembling. "Shut up. I don't have time to care about you." Wang Mingyang shouted coldly without turning his head, observing the group of corpses downstairs. The casual suit's face froze, and then he wanted to say something else with some shame and anger. Wang Mingyang waved his hand casually, and the three boys' hands were empty, and the steel pipes flew up and stopped in front of their throats. The sudden change frightened the 5 people for a moment, and then they were shocked again, and their faces turned pale. The 2 girls screamed and collapsed to the ground, their bodies shaking like sieves. There are too many zombies, and there seem to be quite a few zombies in the front few teaching buildings. Mu Ningxue glanced at the 5 college students, glanced downstairs, and said calmly. "It doesn't matter, as long as I get here, I can find a way to go through the rooftop." Wang Mingyang didn't care, he had already planned the next action plan. Several teaching buildings are very close to each other, and the closest place is only a dozen meters apart. Using the metal control ability, it is entirely possible to build a simple overpass and directly cross the distance between the 2 teaching buildings. Mu Ningxue nodded when she heard this, and she also thought of Wang Mingyang's metal control ability. There is metal everywhere here, and it is indeed not difficult to reach the opposite teaching building. What should we do with these students? Siyu glanced at the few people who were already scared. Why bother with them? Just don't mess with me. Wang Mingyang didn't care. These college students looked haggard. They probably rushed up when the zombies broke out. They were lucky to survive the zombie outbreak in the university, but all this had nothing to do with him, and Wang Mingyang would not be a good guy. The end of the world is coming, life is worthless. Get out of the way and stay here honestly. Wang Mingyang took back the 3 steel pipes and shouted coldly at the few people. Yes, yes, yes. The 3 boys rolled and crawled to pull up the 2 girls, and timidly hid in the corner. The end of the world came, and the 5 people stayed on the rooftop for a few days. They had not eaten a grain of rice or drunk a drop of water. They were already dizzy and their lips were chapped. During this period, they had seen other people, but without exception, they all died in the mouths of zombies, but they had never seen anyone with such magical powers as Wang Mingyang. His move of manipulating steel pipes in mid-air overturned their 3 views like a miracle. As contemporary college students, they had already been exposed to all kinds of fantasy ideas. Even though they were frightened by Wang Mingyang's unknown power, there was still a glimmer of surprise in their eyes. Wang Mingyang walked back and forth on the rooftop, and many kinds of metal products were floating around him. After piling a pile of metal in a corner of the rooftop, Wang Mingyang signaled the 2 women to stay on the rooftop, and he went downstairs. The metal on the rooftop was not enough to build a skybridge, and he needed to collect some more metal from downstairs. The teaching building was full of metal doors, windows, chairs, and benches. If it really didn't work, they could also pull out the steel bars in the wall. However, such an operation would consume a lot of energy, which was not worth the loss. If I had the power of magnetism now, I could just turn into Magneto and fly over by stepping on a metal disc. Why would I need to work so hard? Wang Mingyang was collecting metal while complaining about his own incompetence. When he watched the movie X-Men, he was extremely envious of Magneto's ability. He was so cool. Unfortunately, after his rebirth, he didn't have enough time and didn't read many books. Even if he extracted the power of electromagnetic force, he would definitely not be as awesome as Magneto. The primary electromagnetic force power could never do such an operation. If you accidentally fall directly from mid-air, you're done. For now, you still have to work harder and get more metal to make the overpass stronger. Wang Mingyang quickly swept across the 6th floor and gathered a large ball of Liquid metal around him. There were a few survivors hiding in the corner of the classroom, and they surrounded themselves tightly with tables, chairs, and benches. Unfortunately, they met Wang Mingyang, and the metal parts of those tables, chairs, and benches melted and detached. The tables, chairs, and benches that were blocking the way suddenly fell to the ground, revealing several stunned and haggard faces. Wang Mingyang didn't bother to pay attention, and turned and left with the metal liquid. That had gathered into a large ball. There were bursts of exclamations behind him, until he walked out of the classroom and headed for the rooftop. These college students followed him, crawling and rolling.